Hello and most welcome to 2029 of the series. We will today continue with fractal geometry as a bridge between realms by Terry Marks-Tarlow. And last time, 2028, we mentioned symmetry and how the absolute symmetrical state of the zero contains all and everything, eternity. And one can consider symmetry semiotically as a distinction that leads to no distinction. To no distinction. And this is before the zero. The zero state is before everything sort of is brought into action, agency. Before any existence, before content, before form and time. Nothing is yet established here. It is a grand openness, allowing everything. And this is before any dimensionality has been able or been allowed to spring into existence. So it is the zero state, the before state is the possibility, is the sine qua non for something to stream into active agency, to become. And it's a necessary, the proprioception is a necessary, absolute, foundational for things to start materializing or becoming, being something, developing. Being more, being something, taking form. And this self-similar dynamics appear in the joints, in the space between levels, in the space between levels. And also pointing here to page 38, first column. Identity is constituted intersubjectively by endless feedback loops in the space between self and other, inside and outside. And this is scale invariance. It doesn't matter if the psyche is just one atom of width. It will, because of scale invariance, still be able to penetrate and be something, making a difference extensively. I will now continue on the first column, page 40. First column, page 40. More broadly, I propose that fractals comprise re-entry dynamics within the realm of autonomous functioning, typified by borders that are functionally closed, yet structurally open. Open. Whether in organic or inorganic forms, autonomous systems appear supported by inherently contradictory underpinnings. Which allow recursive cycles of re-entry to etch temporal dynamics into spatial form. Into spatial form. In the epigraph at the beginning of this section, Francisco Varela offers self-reference as the hinge upon which levels of serial inclusiveness intercross. It is easy to view the universe in terms of successively larger levels of serial inclusiveness, inclusiveness. As a crude example from a semiotic perspective, we might say that physics is embedded within chemistry. Within chemistry. within chemistry, which is embedded within biology, which is embedded within psychology. Psychology. Fractal boundaries help us to conceptualize how the realized levels of serial inclusiveness connect and interconnect. Connect and interconnect and intercross and intercross. How they intercross. The primal confusion that arises when discontinuous finite distinctions are made in systems that are embedded in infinite continuous dynamics suggest why paradox so often arises at the seams in nature. At the seams in nature. Whether existing in symbolic or physical form, or comprising ordered attractors beneath chaotic forces in nature, in nature, in nature. In nature. Fractals negotiate the boundary zone. A place where levels contain the antinomy of opposites, both unified and separated. Separated. Because fractals span all scales of observation, both to divide and connect them at boundary points. These dynamics might help to bridge traditional levels of analysis. Traditional levels of analysis. Traditional levels of analysis. From the purely physical level of pre-Gorgin's far from equilibrium thermodynamics through biological levels of re-entry in Maturana and Varela's autopoietic systems to higher order social and cultural levels implied by Peirce's concept of historical drift and praxis. Historical drift and praxis. Conclusion. A final word about cyber semiotics. Cyber semiotics. Cyber semiotics. This chapter suggests fractal geometry as an important archetype of order, the pattern of nature's patterning, as a bridge between finite and infinite dimensions, real and imaginary processes, as well as material and psychological levels of existence. One irony is this: while we use unnatural or mechanical means, such as computers, to discover and illuminate the workings of fractals, what we illuminate extends beyond and beneath the postmodern mirrors that reflect infinite regression in forms of human production and reproduction. Reproduction. Ranulph Glanville rails against the cybernetic nightmare of machines controlling human beings, presenting underpinnings of the unconscious. In this elusive seam where the unconscious and conscious minds touch, we forever seek the means by which brains cobble minds that study brains. Here, the physiological act of making a distinction creates the world as we perceive it, while the world brings distinctions to the consciousness of the perceiver, Now we'll oddly continue on page 38 and do a special one with regard to the illustrations on page 39. 39. And it's the bottom column of page 38. It will be out of order, but I still think it could be helpful. This is easily visualized with the help of nested versus adjacent circles. Begin with the first distinction indicated by a circle that brackets off insides as marked from outsides as unmarked. Unmarked. Now consider three recursively nested circles, each inside the next B on 39. Here, 2. Here, to cross twice represents penetration into a deeper level of marked space. Marked space. In the case of two adjacent circles, C, to cross twice represents entry into an entirely different marked space. Entirely different marked space. Finally, in the case of only one single circle, again A, to cross twice is to leave and re-enter the original marked area. A re-enter. The single circle A represents the basic inner-outer distinction of the self, The three nested circles B represents degrees of interiority of the self, while two adjacent circles C represent the two subjectivities of self and other, and other, and other. the impossibility of formally distinguishing between these three conditions establishes their imaginal paradoxical foundations at the level of first distinctions, This inability definitely to distinguish between realms of self, world, and other carries far-reaching implications. Far-reaching implications. In the laws of form, logician Spencer Brown moved from the duality implied by first distinctions to paradox that sometimes stems from the self-referential capacity of a system to re-enter itself, And I will do a summary. I will stop here just before Varela. On page 40, on the right side, second column, second paragraph, the second paragraph. Whether existing in symbolic or physical form of comprising ordered attractors beneath chaotic forces in nature. Fractals negotiate the boundary zone. The boundary zone. A place where levels contain the antinomy of opposites, both unified and separated. And this is very, I'd say, one of the most foundational. It is both unified and separated. If they're not separated, there cannot be unification. Remember entanglement, the force between two disjunct things. That is the entanglement. That is the, if you like, connective tissue that brings everything together. That sort of adds eloquence and refinery. This is the lesson from fractality. It is not in either side at all. Only once the liminal zone begin acting and working, it will be perceived. And this, I'd say, is extremely pertinent. It will be perceived that either side has existence. But all the properties of existence come from the liminal zone. That is the force field. Without it, we will have no separation, and we will not have unity either. We will have none of those. And this is the odd thing. The either or situation needs to be changed into and or, where the all-inclusiveness is not a compromise in between the twos. And it is neither one and one or A and B. No, it is something absolutely different. It's either or, completely different and disjunct and united. Page 39. Page 39. The third line on the left column, to cross twice is to leave and re-enter the original marked area. And now remember that distinctions, markings, they actually makes it possible to have emptiness, space. It is both at the same time, as well as it is either. A new special logic is here becoming established. And further down on the same column, we could also read, in the laws of form, logician Spencer Brown moved from the duality implied by first distinctions to paradox that sometimes stems from the self-referential capacity of a system to re-enter itself. That might as well be the Klein bottle of Stephen M. Rosen, how something can re-enter itself. Think of a spiral. The re-entering is not identical. It's one level up. And I think it is the dictatorship of the spiral that could here mislead us into thinking that there is no advancement, there is no progress, and that there is, and listen carefully now, there is no direction, only a spiral. Only a spiral can create extension, direction, development. Without a spiral, that will not be possible. It will not be possible. We need that feedback. We need that doing. That's vitally and importantly crucial for the development of any distinctions, and that is the re-entering, the creation of a border between inside and outside. Without that border, there will be no development whatsoever. Whatsoever. And there I ended. The summary is re-entering is creating borders. Without these borders, there will be no progression whatsoever. I say thank you very much for participating. Have a beautiful morning, day, evening, wherever you are. Bye bye for now.